You have reached area code 313.
All my live niggas in the 313. Hey, how y'all doing out there? I'd like to welcome you to another edition of welcome to No Fan TV on YouTube. Make sure y'all hit the like, subscribe button, all that good stuff. Thumbs up and all this, like and share. Get us out there so we can keep this train moving in the right direction. I'm your host. I go by New Simple NEW. Nickname given to me by a dear friend, MMA Rest in Power, Rest in Peace, my man Don Q. In the case if you haven't been here before, or you're new to this arena, we just have one request here, No Fan, that you please leave your bromances and womancers at the door. We like to talk X's and O's here. Big bad shot. Looking at the final piece of New Jersey in the Lions close game. But anyway, we like to keep our bromances and romances at the door. We like to talk about the little X's and O's, some of the things that you won't find on the stat sheet. Speaking of stat sheet, man, I gotta address this thing with this Andre Drummond thing that I've been seeing on various little posts and different little chat groups that I'm in, and Facebook and on Facebook and various chat groups, sports chat groups. But anyway, so we like to have an intelligent shit talking dialogue. You know what I'm saying? We go enjoy ourselves. We can agree to disagree, but with the love affairs, man, we just don't do that here. We just keep it straight black and white, or maybe a shade of gray. Real shade of gray. With that being said, too, let me hit you with these disclaimers too. We got, cause I had to dig in there and look at something to make reference. So we got to make sure we keep this clean and above board. But anyway, it says our disclaimer here: No Fan Sports Podcast is providing this podcast as a public service, but it is neither a legal interpretation nor a statement of No Fan Sports Podcast policy. Reference to any specific product or entity does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by No Fan Sports Podcast. The views expressed by the guests are their own, and the appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity that they represent. The views and opinions expressed by myself are those of my own and do not necessarily reflect the view of No Fan Sports Podcast or any of its officials. Also, we're going to do the fair use disclaimer, the copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowances made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news, reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is use permitted by a copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit educational or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. Okay. And now that we got that out the way, let me grab this too real quick while it's on my mind. I seen it was some chat. This might have been going around in a few posts now, but they had a comparison of Andre Drummond numbers versus Hakeem Olajuwon. The Dream, Hakeem, the Dream Olajuwon, and according to the statistics, his stats in comparison line up pretty decent with the Dreams. And I'm not even gonna knock that. Okay, so the numbers line up fairly decent. Okay, we'll ride with that. That the numbers line up fairly decent. Now let's talk about the stuff that I mentioned earlier, the stuff that you may not necessarily see on the stat sheet, that you're not gonna see on the stat sheet. And it's hard to measure impact, but if you truly, it's a gauge. And I like to think that I got the sixth sense to this. I see things that people don't see. West Indian archery, book the numbers, don't need pencil or paper, whatever. But so when you start comparing numbers as far as the number comparisons, when you go into the metrics and the analytics and stuff like that, and that's why I really don't like to dive too deep into those. It's a intriguing part of the and viewing a player naturally. I mean, it has its pieces, it has its parts or whatever, but it doesn't always tell the whole story. And that's what it's impacting the stuff that you can't put on stat sheets that you put in, that you rank a player. We look at Andre's Drummond's number. What I call Andre, he's a double double. He's a walking double double in today's basketball game in this era. He plays a position that is really outdated. He's a dinosaur for this in terms of basketball terms right now. He's a real actually, and a lot of people may not agree with this or not go like this, but his numbers reflect greatness in this era of basketball. But I would beg to differ when you compare him to Hakeem Olajuwon and the era of probably arguably the greatest era of big men basketball during that time, and when he had to put these numbers up. Would his numbers be the same in that era? Would we actually be discussing Andre Drummond in comparison to the era when Hakeem Olajuwon was putting up the numbers that he put up, that Andre putting up similar now? Because you're looking at Andre Drummond right now, probably arguably he may be the best center in the NBA right now. And the standards of yesteryear, he's the best center in the NBA. To some extent, you match him up against some of the centers, the very center that they matched his numbers up against, and you match them up head to head. Man, he eat this guy for lunch. Olajuwon will eat this guy for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. He'll be a head case after this is over with. Drummond's predominantly the majority of Drummond's numbers come from rebound, his misses, a lot of putbacks, things of that nature, real close around the basket because there's no centers that's hanging around down there right now. He don't have nothing to compete with him down there. There's probably a handful of centers in the league that he go have, Rudy Gobert, a couple of others. The only couple of people he go see down there hanging around. So he's gonna be able to have phenomenal numbers down there. He'd be a 20-20 guy, a double-double guy. That should be easy for someone his size and his stature because it's nothing there. Okay, so when we talking about, it's just flat out nothing there. This is how, the activity should reflect that. By the way, that's my man, DJ Los, that intro background. That's my man, DJ Los out of Detroit. Check him out. You find him in Tidal. Legendary around these parts. Anyway, so when you look at his numbers, like today, yeah, he got great numbers, man. But don't line him up with no Olajuwon on no statistic front and try to make a case for him being as good or as valuable as Hakeem Olajuwon was during that time. We're not gonna do that. We can't do that. That's very disrespectful. Andre Drummond wouldn't even lie, man. If you put Andre Drummond in that era, the centers, when probably, like I said, arguably the greatest centers that ever played the game, man, that guy wouldn't even. Okay, we gonna move on from that too. Also, I'm gonna hit my man Sexton real quick from Cleveland, man. See, it'd have been interesting. I really don't like talking about this dude, but it was 2 times in Cleveland, and I know my man had spent quite a while in Cleveland before he left and went to Miami. But one of the things that I admire about some of the teams of yesteryears, even when teams like the Lakers and the Boston Celtics, and a lot of people consider in today's terminology, they would be considered super teams. In today's ideology, they'd be considered super teams. Okay, but the way I just looked at it, just like I looked at how the Oklahoma, the Thunder was put together. The Sixers were put together before they just reverted or just regressed back from what they did recently when everybody was accusing them of tanking. But when you put that squad together on paper, that's work. I mean, my man Scotty traded Jack for the Detroit Pistons in bad boy era, man. He was a hell of a he put teams together. So when my man was going through his first little leg, Danny Ferry was over there controlling things, man, and they couldn't really get to put the pieces together. In the same token, man, I mentioned like Trader Jack and the Detroit Pistons, but those wasn't necessarily one of the greatest rosters even on paper and physical. Once you seen that group together, man, you really didn't expect them to do what they did, but it took that principal piece, which was Isaiah Thomas at the time, man, of leadership, and him and Mahorn. Once they got together, they created a mystique and an attitude. They forced some pieces together and created a great team. And doing great. He was a great player, and that's what I expect out of my great one. So, but anyway, what I wanted to see was, especially, it was two instances now that I really was like, okay, what the hell? They could have did something. Cleveland could have been hanging around for quite a while. I was initially when they drafted my man Williams from KC and now this guy Sexton. I thought maybe he had a young little nucleus to put around, that guy, and then they can build great things. And I would have a lot more respect for the way, and when we start talking about considerations as far as the great athletes or the great basketball players of yesteryears, and as far as my feelings as far as where he ranked. But that dude Sexton, man, let me say this about him. This is what this really was about. It was about Sexton. Had a great teacher and what's his name? Played point guard Avery Johnson in Alabama. He had a great teacher in Avery Johnson. Avery pretty much was the type of player. He just took what you gave him. Was a good floor general, and that's what made Avery good when he was playing. And you can see the tutelage he gave my man Sexton. Sexton, take what you give him, and he gonna be hard to check because one, he's quick and he's taking what you give him. And what most people, most players are given in this brand of basketball, in this era of basketball, that mid-range game is a thing of yesteryears. It's a lost art. So that's like free money. If you got a good mid-range, we're like Grant Hill would be killer now, for real. Rip Hamilton, Jeff Hornacek, these guys that will kill you mid-range. What's my man who used to kill the Pistons back in the day? Oh my goodness, I can't think this name now, man. And a lot of people wouldn't even respect him as what was his name? Malone. He used to play Malone. Somebody, if you're in the chat, if you remember Jeff Malone from the Washington Bullets back in the day. These was mid-range guys, man, that would kill you. World be free, even though he could shoot it from out there. Gus, oh my goodness, that's why when folks talk about compare eras, it's, I hate doing that. But anyway, but you got Sexton, man, he quick and he taking what you give him. He right there, and that young man got a bright future. So just imagine if you'd had him and y'all, that guy that y'all call, what's the name? I call it, well, that's Miss Jenkins as far as I'm concerned. Look it up. But yeah, Sexton's pretty good. But let's get to the media. This is a local. This one local. This is as local as I can get. Born and raised Detroit, and still reside. Oftentimes when you see especially for your locals, when you have your local team and you got your local team, and you follow them, win or lose, how bad, good, bad. It's only one local team I don't follow, but anyway. So you watch and you hope and you wait for those changes and different things like that. Well, our Pistons is in that crossroad again, and been watching. I think Casey's this is second year or third year as the head coach or what have you. I wasn't a fan of Stu Van Gundy. I didn't like him as a coach, nor as AGM, especially. I thought he put the Pistons in some real bad position right now. I'm almost considering him. He has a level of hate from me as what's his name, Rich Rod, when he was coach at the University of Michigan. The talent pool players we got an injured superstar to stay injured or on, rest or whatever. Kept 4 players from the last year's roster. Got a new GM in what's my man's name? Troy Weaver. Weaver, yeah, Troy Weaver. Troy Weaver is the GM now. He came in, made a lot of moves and changes. I had to go look him up. So I checked the Pistons Insider. They give you feedback and you follow him. I looked into him earlier. I wasn't really familiar with him. I looked into him a while ago, but I just go back and double check and make sure I had everything in order. He was a part of the OKC branding over there when they was making their selections, picking up players. They was doing an excellent job as far as getting things out of the drafts and bringing free agents along and different things like that. OKC's problem when they made their run into the championship level, that was a real young team. A lot of people don't realize that or pay attention to that or respect that as what that was. They blame KD, Russ, and Harden, all them, but they was young. All of them was kids at that particular time. But they did a hell of a job putting that team together. And Harden was he was sixth man. He was coming off the bench on that team. You have to watch a few podcasts out there that actually talk to KD and Harden and all them. They tell you that, I think it was I was watching some with Serge Ibaka and KD were talking about how comfortable the team was and how Harden really didn't want to go and, the whole thing when, and just think if Harden would have stayed. Because they was right there. It just as they got right there, that's when that Harden hype came and, it was like, well, it's time for him to be a next tier athlete. He had produced himself. He had produced enough where he was considered a next tier athlete and now a superstar level focus athlete in the NBA. And he's done a pretty good job with that. But the problem came about once they found out that they were either unable to keep him or didn't want to keep him. They never found a replacement of equal value or even close. And therein lies the next final trips. And, eventually, KD he decided to leave. He up and go to Golden State. He was a free agent. So I'm watching my Detroit Pistons. And this current coach, I know they changed the team again. I watched the pieces he had when he dealt with when he replaced Van Gundy. He and the last GM, I forget his name at the time. I thought they made some decent moves, picking up Sekou and out the draft and different things like that. But I wasn't very familiar with Casey, and I'm even got to go a little bit deeper and find out where he played ball. Where he started. Somebody get me up to speed on Casey, Piston Coach Casey. His history. Let me see if I can pull something up on here. I should have looked him up before I did this. Guy, I looked him up back in the day when he first came along. But let me see. We do a quick Wikipedia. I'm sorry. I'm gonna do a quick Wikipedia just to look. I just want to track. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Played ball at Kentucky. I didn't know that. I wasn't familiar with Casey like that. wasn't familiar with him like that, but nonetheless, okay. But what I really haven't been able to put my finger on is his coaching style. His what is it? I don't understand it. I don't understand his substitutions. Really doesn't have a substitution pattern. No type of situational substitution program. Um, no continuity amongst the players that they do have right now. You look at the Pistons rosters, and it's pretty much all of the same. You know, pretty much every player on their roster is like, it's like you're looking at least out of their 15-man roster, probably looking at least 10 of those guys are like kind of like androids. They're all pretty much the same body style, same type, wiry frame, same build type of player. So they really don't have any identity on that front. Right now, it's looking like Grant, especially while Blake is down and not really playing right now. I think Grant has been the best of the moves that they made as far as a player coming over, and I guess he really had his breakout, or you want to feel himself. Well, this is his opportunity to showcase himself. Because he was over there in Denver, if I'm not mistaken, and that roster over in Denver is pretty heavy. But nonetheless, good lineage. If I'm not mistaken, I think this is Horace Grant's nephew, son of his Horace's brother, Harvey. And Grant has been, taking advantage of his opportunity. I'm not mad at him about doing so. That's probably he's probably one of the brightest of the bright spots of this particular situation. The problem comes in as far as like I said again, his rotation, lack thereof of getting involved his younger talent. They're trying to figure out the who works with what player does what. Looking at on the outside, looking in at this particular Pistons roster, this Piston team, it's hard to tell who's who really. But what I do see is a total, like the whole team, the entire players from 1 through 15, very uncomfortable as far as what they have the okay to do or their abilities to do. I see a lot of guys that's playing from what I'm looking at. It reminds me, this never really happened to me, but when you had those players that you had them type of coaches that you playing with the coach looking over your shoulder, so first thing to go wrong, or you suspect they're doing something wrong, or you miss an assignment, or you don't do this, that, and other. Just when the whistle blow, you get yanked and you go into the bench. And this guy Casey has been a failure as far as I'm concerned, as far as building continuity and kind of understanding how this. If you look at it in terms of like an electrician or something, as an electrician or something, and you watch the diagram, you read the blueprint, and they put together and they show you how this can. Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. I had a little surgery. Had a little thing called layman's terms is trigger finger. The finger gets stuck together. Interesting story. I shook this man's hand one time. He said, "Excuse me." He had to excuse my hand, such and his ring finger was stuck. So you can feel it. And oddly enough, maybe about a couple of years later, but I ended up with the same problem. But I went and had surgery, so that's where the stitches come from. But anyway, so no continuity. You don't see these things. It's like this dude got some ingredients, and when you go to taste it, man, it don't have no flavor to it. You don't know what's in it, and it's not showing any direction. How he uses Derrick Rose, it just my head hurt, and that's the title. My head hurt. It's hard watching this dude, and we just watched him this evening. Like I said, it's a local post today. Watched the Pistons and Cavaliers this evening, and I didn't wait around and listen to what Casey's comments were. I'm gonna have to go back and listen to that. But this is a coaching L that they just took today. They took a coaching L. If my man Weaver is serious about what he's doing, and the owner Goris is serious about what he wants done, it's time for them to part ways. And I hate to say, but it's time for them to part ways with Casey, and they need to do this real soon. They need to do it real soon because you go lose. It's, the way he coached Akira, I'll tell you right now, as a young man, if you're young in your 20s and you sitting on that bench and you trying to figure things out, he gonna lose his locker room if it's not lost already. I think it's lost already, but he not gonna be able to do this job. This job ain't for him. You need a LB type for this group. You need an LB Popovich type of coach for this group. Casey, I don't even know what he runs. I don't even understand it. It's nothing. It's nothing. There's no flavor in it at all. So, like I said, this L on Casey tonight. I'm not even sure if I can watch any further Pistons games at this particular point. That's how bad it is watching him coach. He gotta go. I hope this get to it, but man, y'all hit this like, subscribe, share. Make sure y'all share this because he got. I would love to hear this catch some momentum because he got to go, man. I can't even hold it back no more. And for you all that before y'all come talking about the brother thing, this ain't got nothing to do with that. Y'all see the flag in the back? I'm down with it, but this ain't got nothing to do with that. My man this is terrible, dude. He can't coach this team. He not that dude. The coaches back in the day, man, a real coach, man. Those coaches I'm talking about, type of coach that man can take. We can go in the refrigerator and see all the leftovers in there, or you look in the cabinet and you see, I may have mentioned this once before. I never forget this growing up. Man, we grew up on them stamps, dude. I remember standing in the line. We had to stand in the line like you was going to the bank to get the stamps. Okay, so it was rough growing up. But my mother she worked 2 jobs and put herself through school, man. Graduated, went on to work for the state, retired from the state of Michigan. But I remember those. I remember that. I was almost an East Lansing boy. But anyway, so I remember, man, growing up, man, my mother used to, we ain't had much, but it didn't seem like it, especially when we ate, because she always was real creative with things. So, how many of y'all remember them, how them infomercials, they had them infomercials, then you buy the cookbook, and they had a little cookbook box with a little plastic little container, then you flip through the little menus and pull the menus out. Yeah, we had those, the number menus. We had all that little stuff. But she used to make this quiche. And for those who are familiar with quiche, quiche ain't nothing but it's just an egg pie. I mean, you got eggs and literally eggs and literally a pie shell, a little crust. That's what it is. And I remember, man, growing up, I used to I'd go outside, we sat at little games or whatever we played, and I would go outside and see like, ooh, what is that you eat? Like, these caviar and stuff, but it wasn't nothing but an egg. It was an egg pie, pretty much. But quiche is good. It's a good meal though. So them the type of coaches that I'm talking about. Those are the type of coaches that, able to take, a little something, you turn it into a full meal, man, and get everybody excited about it. Casey, not that guy. They need to run for the hills. It's time to start looking for a coaching replacement. I'm not sure who would be that guy. I'm not endorsing anybody else, but I know he's not that guy. Again, my name is, I go by New, simple NEW. Appreciate you checking us out. Make sure you like, thumbs up, hit the like button, share it, subscribe, all that different type of things. Them social DMs will be in the description as well. Please follow us with Follow us, No Fun Sports Podcast. We all over the place. We're trying to get down, man. I'll holler at y'all later. Peace. But Casey got to go. Oh, let me say this though, and this is that time. This is that time of the show where I like to call this what's that this that time of the show. I like to call this the jewels. You know, we drop a little jewel before we go. Again, this is not, we don't dig deep off into this stuff because this is not really the place formats where I really dig deeper into that stuff. We don't just shut up and dribble either. So we gotta drop a little jewel or two, and just I always need to touch on little events, little things that they just they on the radar. You watch it. Not just on social media, but you watching in life too, just as well. All right. So, been checking out this this uh, this AMC and this GameStop stuff, man. Okay. Uh, and with the invention of Robinhood Stash and Acorns and different things like that, and I'm currently myself, I even enrolled in my man Dr. Boyce Watkins the black business school. I get involved with that too. So naturally, this is what he talks about. This is what we're talking about. The man is the money. So you start following and reading and touching and watching all these things. I've always had a couple of things involved in it, but I never was really into it to the intrigue of where I'm at now. It is what I thought it was all along. I do have a little different view on the whole market and different things like that. And it's a tool that most black families, at least growing up when I came up, and all these different things, don't know much about or never really were involved in. And this is where my man Dr. Boyce Watkins comes in, his school and different things like that. But nonetheless, so you start watching and you reading all these little things, because I used to read a lot of business books and different things like that, and I got turned off because I wasn't really hearing or hearing it, the truth that I needed to hear. I finally found that truth when my man put me on a few things. But nonetheless, you had the AMC and this GameStop thing. So you start doing your research. You got the GameStop, the AMC, and all this crypto talk and stuff is moving around and different things like that. One of the things that I've learned thus far, and he made it very clear that even while in doing this game, investing can be kind of addictive and almost like a form of gambling. So you have to be careful when you dilly-dallying and playing around in that. But in the same token, this AMC and GameStop thing is like one of those spooky tail parts where initially when I really was, I didn't really mess around in the market. And this is one of the things that I always expected that you would, run into. You'll come into some things like this, who actually manipulates the market. And right now it's being manipulated. I've been, however you view it, I'm not taking a side on this, but there's, some funny things going on because we're talking about two entities that absolutely have no bearing or no movement or no way to make no cash right now. But you got big wigs playing big games. And 9 times out of 10, when you have big wigs playing big games, it's the little folks that end up getting burned. Just keep that in mind. Again, I go by New. I'm your host, No Fan Sports Podcast. Check us out, man. Hit like, subscribe, and share. We holler at y'all later. Peace.